There's still no Spider-Man trailer, and I don't know what's going on at this point. I've heard some different rumblings and just different things that I've read, and it makes me kind of wonder what exactly. I guess I don't know. I don't know 100% what's going on. Um, but the whole thing is it's interesting. Basically, right now we have Spider-Man Week going on. I guess is what it's kind of been promoted as, but it's more based on the fact that Spider-Man, the initial day of the year that the first comic was released in I think it was 63. It might have been 62, but I believe it was 1963 that the first Amazing Spider-Man was available, before the Amazing Fantasy, anyway, or I mean after the Amazing Fantasy had already premiered, and that would have been August 1st. And the thought was that this week there was going to be a trailer, but we're getting to Wednesday now, and there still hasn't been anything yet. But there's some, hope still. One of the things that I noticed was that, now that Black Widow's been released and the What If series will be coming out next week, not this week, Marvel had started promoting Shang-Chi a lot more because that will be coming out in September. And from what I've understood, there's no plans to reschedule that. I don't even think that movie's getting a premiere access release. I believe it's just going straight to theaters. There will be no premiere access for it. I think they might be kind of done with that, especially given the recent lawsuit involving Scarlett Johansson and Black Widow. So there's a chance that maybe that one will only be theatrical and they'll be released in September. And the fact that they have started to promote it more heavily, they're starting to do like individual featurettes on YouTube. It makes me believe that one is going to go through, that they aren't going to cancel that one, given what some of the COVID numbers are out there, which, I mean, is kind of a whole nother discussion. But basically, right now, I don't see them rescheduling that despite, anything else that's going on. And that's good because that means that Marvel isn't planning on moving its movies around, and that means that maybe Sony's not planning on moving them around, and especially not Spider-Man, which would be in conjunction with Marvel. I don't know if Marvel even has any say in if that movie should be moved back. Like, if we don't release Shang-Chi or the Eternals, if we reschedule those, you have to reschedule Spider-Man. I don't think the two are directly tied. And I think that goes even for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, because I thought originally that movie was supposed to come out before Spider-Man anyway, so I don't think that Spider-Man necessarily needs to come out before that movie. But the point is, as far as Marvel having control over scheduling Spider-Man, I don't know if it does. Because the initial thought was that possibly the reason Sony was holding off on the trailer was because they didn't want to release a trailer if the movie was going to get pushed back even further. And given that Marvel seems to be sticking true to Shang-Chi, that's one thing, but the other thing is that Sony will also be releasing Venom soon, and they actually just released a Venom trailer this week. So it's like, yes, even Sony is sticking to their schedule. They are keeping these movies there. I don't think they would release a Venom trailer, which will be coming out sooner than Spider-Man. I don't think they'd be releasing that trailer if they would think Venom would be moving, and I don't feel like they'd be worried about Spider-Man if they're not worried about Venom moving, because I feel like there'll be more issues more closer in the future than later in the future. I that's my personal opinion, but I see things being better by December versus maybe what the numbers will look like in the next 2 months, I guess. But it could be all up in the air. I mean, in general, I think there's just like a lot of unknown at the moment. But I think the schedule is going to stay where it is, and that was just one of the initial fears as to why the Spider-Man trailer wasn't coming out. Now, I guess the only thing I could think is they got the Venom trailer out, so maybe the Spider-Man trailer no longer needs to wait, because they have a Venom movie to promote. I get that. So they didn't want, like, Spider-Man to take all of that away, all that hype away, even though it pretty much is. It's taking the hype away from pretty much all the Marvel movies. I think it would make sense now that they released the Venom trailer that they can now release the trailer for Spider-Man. So will it happen this week? I think some people thought it would maybe be August 1st just because of the anniversary of Spider-Man itself, but I didn't think they would release a trailer on a Sunday. I was thinking maybe it'd be the next day, but then, they released the Venom trailer, which I guess kind of makes a little more sense because they want to promote Venom first. But Venom's tied to Spider-Man, and it's still Spider-Man week, so we might still get another trailer in this week. I've also heard that it might be August 10th, since that actually is Peter Parker's birthday. So maybe it'll be then. But at this point, I don't see things getting rescheduled. I just see that maybe this trailer is not getting released because I will go back to my original theory, which was this movie has massive spoilers in it, some of which we may already know. I think there is a ton of spoilers in it. I do think it's a multiverse movie. I do think Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are in fact in it. I don't know how much they're in it, but what tells me that they are in it a lot is the fact that we still haven't gotten the trailer, and I think it's because it's hard to edit a trailer because they probably can't find a way around all the footage that will spoil the movie. So maybe they're having a hard time making the trailer. I mean, look back at Endgame's trailer. Endgame showed very limited footage. I mean, most of the footage came from, out of context scenes, and a majority of it came from, like, the opening few minutes of the film. So I think Spider-Man might be having the same issue, but we'll see. Or at least maybe they wanted to hold off because they knew the trailer would spoil some of it, and they wanted to release it later rather than, like, show Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield or something, some other large spoiler way back in February, and then have people forget about it by now, especially like back then, if they really would need to reschedule. At this point, I think they're just holding off because they don't want to steal hype away from Venom. They don't want to steal hype away from other Marvel movies, which the other Marvel movies have to do well for Spider-Man to do well. I think it's just... Also, I think they, as fans speculate more and just drive the hype more, they're saving money on advertising dollars, because once you release a trailer, you're gonna have to go full-fledged into the marketing. You can't really stop with just a trailer and then wait a couple months, especially at this point. They know that they'll have to start spending the money, so maybe they're just letting the fans do it. But I also think part of it is, I think they're just having a laugh. I think they kind of know that, they want that trailer. The more they ask for it, maybe the more we should hold off. I can't help but feel that way. It's interesting.